Well, hello everybody. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about build planning. And I'm not talking about planning on what materials to use or what colors. What I'm talking about is how is the build going to be put together? What's the floor plan going to look like? How is it going to be laid out? That sort of thing, a lot of people don't really consider. They just start placing blocks, and that's fun and a great way to do it. But I find sometimes it can be frustrating. And that's what I want to kind of talk you through is how to think through a build. Now, if you're anything like me, many of your first builds probably looked something like this. And this is sort of a form is dictated by function kind of structure. And what I mean is, it is safe from the monsters. You got your bed, you got your chest, you got your crafting table. What more could you possibly need? So this is a very functional structure, but it's not very exciting. It's not very challenging. It's not very creative. I remember when I first started watching other people's build videos and I realized, I only need 2 blocks of space to fit, but why not build my ceiling 5 blocks tall or 10 blocks tall? And it really inspired me to think a little bit more before I started placing blocks. Many of my builds start out as a drawing or a sketch on my iPad. And, like with my recent base that I'm working on, I kind of thought through, what did I want to have in the base and how much room might that take up? I recently did a cow farm video, same deal. I kind of sketched it out so I had an idea of what I was getting into. Or my villager breeder. I knew I wanted to have a certain number of villagers in there for the trading, and so I sketched all that out and figured out, how many blocks am I going to need to make this all fit. So let's say we want to build a base, and we want there to be kind of a lobby or an entryway. We want there to be a bedroom, and we want there to be a enchanting room. Now, just for the sake of argument, let's say we decide we want each of those spaces to be 5 by 5. So our entryway will be 5 by 5, our bedroom will be 5 by 5, and our enchanting room will be 5 by 5. So it's real simple to assume that, our structure is going to be 5 blocks by 15 blocks. But that actually is not the case. It's real easy to forget that you need to have a wall around this thing. So our 5 across is actually going to be at least 7, and our 15 is going to be at least 17. One other thing that's super important to consider is your redstone. So I'm going to build a redstone door real quick here. So we got us a nice little 2x2 piston door. I walk on in, it opens up. Walk back through, it opens up nice and clean. Now, something to consider here is this little piston door is 3 blocks deep. So my 5 across has now become at least 8. So again, that's something to consider. I find I forget this all the time whenever I'm building farms, and I will forget to leave space for my collection area, or I'll build the farm too close to the ground and there won't be anywhere for the drops to go and things like that. So yeah, leave room for your redstone. Something else to consider, I made a 2x2 piston door. But my room is 5 across, so I only have 1 block on this side of the door, 2 blocks on this side of the door. A 1 wide door would look pretty wimpy, but I just don't have space to build a 3x3. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to just widen it a bit so that it's nice and symmetrical. So now my 15 across has turned into 16 across at least. Let's say I want this room to be kind of grand. I want it to be a very interesting and formal looking entryway. I'm going to do some polished diorite on the floor here. I'll mix some stone in there. All right, so we did something just real simple and kind of Roman looking, I guess, real simple color palette. But you can see here, this wall is 2 blocks thick. So I've encroached a little bit on our red room over here, and I've done the same on the blue room. If you want some detail and some depth in your walls, you're going to have to remember to leave some space for that. Sometimes I do walls that are even like 3 blocks thick. So yeah, that can add up. These rooms, you want to make the same consideration. If I had made a double door here, then it might not be a good idea maybe to make this a bedroom because my bed would be off center. Here we have a single door, and so the bed will line up really nice. So odd numbers for bedrooms, enchanting rooms, things like that, they work really, really well. Now let's say I don't want my wall to be gray. Let's say I want to do this room all in wood tones. So I did this room just in jungle wood. The wall is only 1 thick, so I varied the blocks I used, but there's not a lot of depth. We'll call this the bedroom, so I'll put that right there. And yeah, you can see we just added 1 more block to the depth and then 2 blocks to the width. Let's go over to the other side here and we'll do something similar. Okay, that's going to be our enchanting room. So this one I just did in some wood and some granite. This is something I run into a lot too, where I do a wall, but I don't necessarily want the outside to look like that. So I'm going to end up having to wrap this whole thing in another layer. So in addition to remembering to leave room for your redstone and your walls, you got to leave room for your facade outside as well. So now that we've got it all wrapped in a facade, our little 5 by 15, our little 3 rooms that we wanted, is now 11 by 25. So that's why I'm talking about planning. If we had started just laying blocks, we would have ended up having to tear things down and scoot things over and over. If we would have drawn this out and known that we wanted to decorate the main room a little bit, we would have had a plan. We would have gone in and we would have put this room in the appropriate place and that sort of thing. So yeah, planning is super important. The last step, of course, is lighting and spawn proofing, that kind of thing. Inside, we all know what to do. We can put carpets down, we can put lights underneath those, we can hang lights and that sort of thing. It's also super important, I think, to spawn proof your roof. I've had creepers jump down on me so many times. So carpeting the roof or finishing it off with a layer of slabs or lighting up your roof if you're into that using glowstone or shroom lights, whatever fits the build. So I hope this gives you something to think about while you're planning out your builds. I used to just kind of go for it and just start laying down blocks, and then I ended up having to knock down a wall because I didn't have enough space between it and the next room. And so planning really, really is very, very important. And it does save you a ton of time in the end because you have a vision of where this is going to go and how it's going to piece together the different rooms and the different spaces, allowing for things like light and redstone and decoration. That's all I've got for you today, short and sweet. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.